Hello everyone, this is Adelaide Eternal and you're with Sarvin McClinton bringing you another deck tech. This time it's a twin deck. It's one with a twist. It's the blue-red tempo twin deck, but it splashes white. So as you can see, Splinter Twin is there as the namesake of the deck, but it is fundamentally one of, if not the worst cards in the deck, and we'll look at why that is the case. So first of all, this is fundamentally a blue and red deck, focusing on the ability to use Magus of the Moon and Blood Moon to lock your opponent out of the game. So you have a high density of islands, which is why you only run the 7 fetches, even though it's technically a 3-color deck. And you also have the Chrome Mox, which is maybe the 59th worst card in the deck. It's enables you these explosive starts. If you have this in your hand and you're able to power out a Blood Moon on turn 2, you can often lock your opponent out of the game if you are on the play. But later on in the game, if you find that this is a dead card, which it often is, you can discard it to Desolate Lighthouse and loot it away. You can also discard it to Dack Fayden. So it's okay to have a couple of liability cards in the deck. So let's look at the shell. The shell, obviously, with your turn 1 card selection, you know, Sensei's Divining Top, Ponder, and Preordain. But if you can wait an extra couple of turns and cast these later on in the game, they're extremely powerful. Same as Brainstorm. If you can cast this on turn 7, turn 10, you're going to be having a great day when you shuffle away that Chrome Mox and that Splinter Twin that you don't need to use to win. So as you curve out through the deck, you've got a lot of slow, technically dirtily cards. You know, you have Snapcaster Mage, which is usually trying to flash back something rather big. You know, we're looking at it flashing back a Fact or Fiction or a Cryptic Command. So essentially, this is often a 6-drop. But you have to know that because this is a tempo deck, sometimes you have to identify what your win strategy is. Now, there are times where you can win with this deck when you simply play your Snapcaster Mage on turn 2, attack for 8 damage over the course of 4 turns. In addition, on turn 3, you flash out your Vendilion Clique. Then after that, you might flash out a Pestermite and tap one of their lands, attack with your flying beat sticks for 2 or 4 each turn, and then lightning bolt them out of the game. So this is entirely one of the strategies that it will use, and the only reason that works in this tempo deck is because people are afraid of this. So although you're playing this as the worst card of the deck, technically the fear of it is extremely powerful and allows you to win games via tempo. By the same token, the fear of Daze is often what does the job. You only have one in the deck, and usually people don't necessarily play around it, which is why you get them. But if they do play around it, it's just as good as having the Daze in your hand. And again, later on in the game, you can discard it to Dack Fayden or Desolate Lighthouse. Shuffle it away with Brainstorm. Now, there are a number of unique inclusions in this deck. You don't normally see True Name Nemesis in a blue-red deck that's using Blood Moon and Pestermite and Deceiver Exarch to try and win the game off Splinter Twin or Kiki-jiki. But in this deck, it's integral. You'll find that when you're playing this, sometimes your only out is True Name Nemesis. And what better way to get it, aside from your card selection, than Recruiter of the Guard? So now we start to talk about why there's white in the deck. There are actually only 4 cards that are white in the main deck. And that's why you only need a single Tundra and a single Plateau to fetch out when you need them. The basic Plains is occasionally there for times when you have the liberty to fetch it out before a Blood Moon, but usually you never really fetch this card. Now, Recruiter of the Guard lets you not only find the True Name Nemesis we were talking about, but also it lets you find Pestermite and Kiki-jiki, just like Imperial Recruiter does, to allow you to do the combo plan. So even though you're a tempo deck, you can win by combo. It is possible, but you'll find that in your games, 8 out of the 10 games that you win will be via tempo beats. Onto the other white cards, we have Restoration Angel, which provides you not only another tempo beat stick in the air, flying in over for 3, but also it's another combo piece. With Kiki-jiki, this gives you infinite dudes to attack for the win. So you're actually, by adding white, shoring up your ability to not only tempo, but also combo. Ajani Vengeant is one of, if not the best white card in this deck. You could actually play white solely for the temptation of playing Ajani Vengeant. That's how amazing this card is. Ajani can win games simply by himself, by ticking himself up. If you protect him with your counterspells, he is a single-man army. He eventually -7s to get rid of the opponent's entire land base, and then by that point, if they're not scooping, then you're just enjoying the rest of the game where they basically have no opportunity to win because you're beating them down with a 2/1 Snapcaster Mage. Next to that, he does have the ability to shore up your mid-range matchups because he operates as a Lightning Helix. Now you'll notice that whilst we're playing white, we don't have Lightning Helix in the main here, which is what we'll look at in the sideboard in a second. But he himself is a Lightning Helix, and he also technically often gains you a bunch of life as well, because your opponent is forced to attack him when they would rather be attacking your face, because otherwise he'll keep one of their attackers tapped. The other versatile cards in the deck are obviously Izzet Charm and Fire and Ice, which you can use to either cycle out like another Dack Fayden or counter a Liliana of the Veil or other useful card. Fire and Ice can tap your opponent's beat stick or tap one of their basic lands, which allows you to lock them out with their Blood Moon. Tap one of their basic lands on their upkeep and lock them out with a Blood Moon that particular turn. Looking at the sideboard, you'll see that the cards of choice are separated into those you bring in against control and those you bring in against creatures. Against the creatures, here's the Lightning Helix we were talking about, but also the other edition of white gives you Timely Reinforcement, which is an absolute back-breaking card. Against control, you have your 3 best cards, and you usually side out your Splinter Twin package because Teferi and Keranos are great ways to simply win the game when you protect them with your Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast and Flusterstorms. The flex slots at the end here are Null Rod against Storm and other decks that you find that you have a pretty tricky matchup if you don't draw the right half of your deck. But also Containment Priest, because there's a resurgence in Reanimator decks. And you'll note that we play Containment Priest over Rest in Peace because it's a 2/2 flash body, so it actually fits the theme of tempo. Last of all, your other white splashes in there for Wear and Tear, which you often bring in against choke decks because you can't beat choke. Tapping all of your mana to play Cryptic Command later on in the game to bounce the choke is really not ideal. It's a one way out, but having a 1 mana way to answer choke is really good. Also, it happens to destroy Skull Clamp at the same time. So if you've liked this deck, I'm sure you'll have fun playing it. Have a little dabble around and tell me what you think. Thanks, guys.